It is my sincere pleasure to share the mic today with Rosalee Gordon. Rosalie is a product leadership coach with more than 20 years of experience in product, growing from an IC to executive across startups, scale-ups, and big tech. She's coached product leaders in more than 50 companies, and talking to her feels like sparring with someone who's lived several lifetimes as a product leader and coach. She also builds community wherever she goes, founding Product Leaders Exchange, creating the Product Calgary Association, and serving on the board of APM Canada. In this episode, Rosalie doesn't just talk about the important concepts of seeing the inner critic and inner leader. She live coaches me through mine. You'll hear my name, Demo Hour Marcus, as the inner leader. We also get tactical. Why product leaders need to learn the language of finance, why you must absolutely get hands-on with AI tools, and how to use vulnerability to dive into the necessary topics around the leadership table. If you're a product person who's ever felt simultaneously responsible for everything and unsure that you're the one who should be in the chair, this conversation is going to land. Let's get into it with Rosalee Gordon.
So inner leader is the part of you, your true self, your highest self. Inner leader exhibits compassion, there's clarity, there's wisdom, there's courage, self-acceptance, self-authority. You're in your power. Inner leader knows the truth. Can you think of a time where you felt that you were operating from your inner leader? Any situation?
Yeah, those moments where I feel so genuine, so authentically myself in the workplace has come where I've needed to entertain or educate. So there have been situations requiring both. In fact, when I educate, I like to entertain through the education. And one example has been through just hosting Demo Hour. It was a ceremony that we did every week at MedStack. It was 1 to 2 hours on a Friday. And it did feel for most people, most of the time, that this was like the best hour or two of the week. The energy that I brought to the beginning of that meeting, welcoming everyone, the ways that we would have, even sometimes we needed like a 30-second, 1-minute meditation to just like, whoa, there's a lot going on this week today. Let's just take a second to center ourselves and then dive in and begin with a ton of energy, introducing people when people demo something to dive deeper into surfacing like what they did that was actually amazing, that someone who maybe is non-technical doesn't appreciate or understand. And how could they come to be like, holy crap, you did such a good job with that. And that's really pushing our product and our company forward. That whole setting, my inner leader is shining. And it feels so good to be in that position of mediating, hosting, giving people the opportunity to shine and rise. Like those are the examples
Yeah.
where I feel the inner leader.
Okay. And so put yourself in that situation. It's the demo day.
Yeah.
You're about to start the event. How do you feel? What are the emotions in you?
I'm excited, without a doubt. I can feel this surge of energy that is somewhat like in my chest and my spine. I feel more like erect, proud. I can actually feel like the sweat under my armpits a little more. Yeah. And I feel like warmth in my face. These are all like really, really good feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what posture are you in when you feel this way? Are you standing? Are you sitting?
It actually feels really good sitting. I've spent like 8 years of my career in a remote capacity.
Yeah.
And I do feel in that position of power sitting.
So remember this, because this is how it feels to be in your inner leader. And this is somewhere where you can learn to go back to in different situations.
Yeah. It's the physiology that I could put myself back into this position.
Yes. And some people even give a name to their inner leader. A critic is a voice that is critical, cutting you down, can be perfectionist. It will suppress your best self from coming out, like just a little bit will squeak out. It is a liar that throws in a pinch of truth just to string you along. Some people call it their saboteur. Some people call it their security guard to keep them safe.
Yeah.
And there is some wisdom in inner critic because there is that pinch of truth. And so we cannot banish inner critic. And even if we try, they tend to come back. So we do need to listen, and then we need to challenge inner critic. And kind of parse out what's true and what's not true.
Okay.
So
He says what you're doing is important for the business.
there's some wisdom, really strong wisdom showing up here. Inner leader, your strongest part, your clearest, courageous part is saying there's no need to do this alone. It's not wise to do this alone. You have resources and you need to tap into them. And
Yeah.
you're going to succeed by doing that.
You know what's amazing, Rosalie, is just the way that framing that exercise, even like the perspective turns into, instead of me saying I, it's
Mm.
about me talking about me as like you.
You.
Yeah, we really like separated out
Yeah.
the people in my brain. It's just kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be so helpful to
Yeah.
do that. Yeah. I'm wondering about this hosting, teaching energy that you bring and how that might play into accessing customers. Like, what if it was hosting customers? What if it was entertaining customers? What if it was something to do with learning and teaching?
Those are definitely some of my best moments.
Can we make this fun instead of scary?
Yeah. An example of where hosting as part of the discovery, as entertaining as part of the discovery, educating people and helping them see and understand and learn more. You do that like all the time at conferences and trade shows. And that is an element that feels really natural to me. So
So, Marcus, what's coming up for you from our discussion so far? What's really
what's
standing
standing
out?
out for me is that I do have the capacity to help myself. I have the capacity to identify my challenges, but it does require me to take a step back and frame things from a mental perspective that is quite deliberate. The perspective of the critic, the perspective of the leader.
Hmm.
That compartmentalization of thought and perspective is something that you helped me navigate in just this session, but the power to do it was within me.
What is one thought that you want to carry forward with you? What is that powerful reframe that you want to carry forward with?
Instead of needing to just do it, execute, and produce high results and surprise people by them, let them be a part of the process of me doing that great work.
Yeah, yeah. And that's so wise also if you're looking to transform a company that they would have buy-in
Yeah.
already. Yeah. It actually gets you further. Really great. Thank
Thanks, Rosalie. Yeah, that was fun and vulnerable
you.
in many ways. Can we talk about what the benefit is of being vulnerable and what the risk is of being vulnerable?
Yes. So in my coaching, my one on one coaching, I create an environment of extreme safety, 100% confidentiality, where it is a place where people can show up with high levels of vulnerability, courage, creativity, playfulness. And it's really a kind of a unique space that we separate out in coaching that you can have these kinds of in the general workplace, there's also a lot of advantage to psychological safety and being vulnerable. But in larger groups or in groups where there's maybe some cross purposes, where people aren't completely aligned, everyone can feel like, well, I can't really share what I'm thinking here. And so I think it's really up to the leaders to create as much as possible a place of psychological safety where people can be open and vulnerable. If there's a lack of vulnerability, you're going to have a whole bunch of things that can't be talked about. And those are probably the most important things to talk about.
Rosalie,
Mhm.
your product career, it's flowed from one as being a tactical product manager to leadership and now to one where you're coaching and you hold 3 distinct coaching accreditations. What clues existed along the way that have led you to a career in product leadership coaching?
That's interesting because it's not like I imagined myself as a product leader coach. So it was more a discovery along the way. I love product. I've loved product from the day I discovered what product management was when I was working as an engineer at a tech company. And I discovered there were product managers and thought they have the funnest job in the company and I want to do that. So that was early in my career. And so I love product. I guess along the way, I realized that my biggest challenges in product and having impact as a product manager and product leader were not the product practices. The product practices, I can learn those, I can do those, I can teach those, it's getting the whole organization to work together as a product-led organization. So if you are a developer or an engineer and you do not have the support of your whole organization, you can still be a really great developer. You can write really great code. You can build something really interesting technically. If you are a product manager and especially a product leader and you do not have the support of your CEO, the head of sales, or the head of marketing, or the head of engineering, or the head of customer success. If those folks are working in cross purposes, you can not succeed as a product leader. You need, like you say, Marcus, I need access to customers. If sales is blocking that, you cannot be successful because you cannot do the discovery work you need to do. So along the way, as a product leader, I found that the toughest problems that I had were the soft things, the things like influence, the things like communication, tricky decision making, leading a team, especially these relationships across the C-suite and up to the CEO or founder and board. That was the toughest stuff. And it is the toughest stuff for most, I would say, product leaders. And it is coaching that allowed me to solve those kinds of problems. And it's coaching that allows me to help other product leaders solve those kinds of problems, their biggest problems, so that they can have the impact that they know they can have.
The awareness of into those leadership, soft skill problems and challenges has ultimately led you to say, I can have a pretty big impact if I can help people navigate those situations even better.
Yeah. Yeah. And it brings a lot more joy to the role too, because there's a lot of product leaders who are very frustrated and are not thriving. And I want to see product leaders thrive. I want to see companies thrive. And, I want to see customers served the best that they can be. So it's about bringing more joy to the role.
What types
More.
of signals should product leaders be aware of to know that they're on the right path for their own careers?
Well, given that the toughest part of the job is relationships and decision making, are you the kind of product manager or product leader who likes to be really hands-on? Or do you get excited by the nebulous stuff around building trust, building relationships, influencing up, inspiring, thinking in a visionary way, thinking in a strategic way? One is not better than the other. We need really strong, especially now in the age of AI, we need very strong kind of super IC individual contributor product managers who are wizards at, doing discovery, building products, and thinking about go to market on a really tactical level. In addition, though, we need product leaders who can interface with the rest of the company, communicate with the board in financial terms, and lead with a strong vision and strategy. So which one do you prefer? They're both great. They're both important. It's just, which path sounds funner to you, which sounds more interesting. Because I do coach some product leaders who say, I really like this job, but I can't stand the relationship part of it. And, then you're in the wrong job, because this is the job now. The product stuff, you're not going to be doing that much anymore, the actual product stuff. It's the relationships now, especially for, say, a VP of product or a CPO with the new 8 AI tools right now. Not because that's going to be 100% of your job, but you need to understand how they work and what's possible. So I don't think you can do the strategic visionary work if you are hands off with those new AI tools. You need to actually get down and get your hands dirty again.
And that doesn't seem like a problem-free endeavor. For example, a leader coming down and becoming tactical again because of the capability of tooling and what we can do today now as product people. What is the realistic risk, and how does it get managed that direct reports feel like a leader getting hands-on is them actually micromanaging?
Yes, I have heard stories about CEOs building and shipping code apart from anything else that's supposed to be going on in the company, which is causing consternation. So understandably. So yeah, I would not recommend that approach. But every product manager wants a leader who understands them. It's not fun working for a leader who is not up to speed in the current technology, what's possible, what's not possible now. And so if you frame it as I'm educating myself so I can be a better leader versus I'm going to build and ship code because I had a cool idea, I think I think that will be much better received.
Rosalie, if there was a message for product leaders, a single message that you could give them all today, do you feel like there is something in particular that stands out among anything else?
My message for right now in this moment in time we are in is you must get hands-on with AI tools. My message, which is timeless, which will always be, is you need to be able to communicate to your stakeholders in the language that they speak. And you have multiple stakeholders. And the one that is usually most new for, say, a person who's just been promoted to a CPO role is the language of the board. And the language of the board is finance. And so maybe earlier in your career, you learned to speak the language of engineering because you needed to interact with engineers. And then you learn to speak the language of sales because you need to interact with sales. And now you're going to need to learn to speak the language of finance so that you can speak to the board. And you may have in your company a CFO who could become a very good buddy to help you learn what are the financial impacts of these product initiatives and how do I communicate that to the board in a way that they understand.
As you go through that to become, a principal product or a group product manager or a VP, what new set of languages do you feel need to be acquired along the way that are most helpful?
Yeah, so it comes down to understanding the other person and what they need, what's important to them, and what language they use. So whoever it is that you need to build a relationship with. So often it's engineering first. You might be a non-technical product manager. That's fine. You need to know a little bit about architecture. And who's going to teach you that? Probably those engineering people, right? They can bring you up to speed. They want you to be able to understand more what they're talking about, what decisions they are making with the trade-offs that they're facing, why some things are very hard and some things are very easy. So the language of engineering, the language of sales. So it's always great to put yourself in the position of sales. If it's a B2B product, talk to a salesperson and find out what it's like to have a quota and what does that mean for them that they have a quota to meet every quarter. And it might mean that you could have the most awesome product ever or new feature ever, but if it's hard to sell and something else is easier to sell, they're going to sell what is going to help them make the quota because that is how they're compensated. That is their job, is to meet quota. So you can start talking about product in terms of helping them achieve their goals. And then finance. Finance speaks the language of spreadsheets and they can be intimidating, even if you are a financially oriented product person. You can have your MBA. There's still a lot of complexity in the company's financial models. So speaking to your peers in finance and getting them to help you up that learning curve, learning how the product initiatives you're doing are impacting the finances. Is this product initiative going to increase revenue or decrease costs? If it's increased revenue, how are we increasing revenue? Are we adding new logos or are we improving retention? And really getting clear on how this product initiative impacts what line on the income statement of the company. How do you influence your CEO? Completely depends on the CEO. Is it a sales-oriented CEO, a finance-oriented CEO? Is it a visionary CEO? That will all impact how you speak to and influence that person. A really good thing to do is join some customer success calls, and you'll have quickly develop a very good understanding of what customer success goes through every day and how you might be able to help them and communicate in terms that are important to them.
Those were some of my most favorite moments, was going into customer success calls and being able to experience what they go through and to ultimately work hand in hand as this unified front, both on relationship and capability wise of the product, what can we do to empower you,
Mhm.
Mr. and Mrs. Customer. Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh, Rosalie, you had touched on the uh, the need to, say, grow new sales
Mhm.
or improve retention. And most companies are going to say we got to do both. But the reality is that the products and the features and the activities that you do may sometimes be mutually exclusive.
Mhm.
How do you push back to, a leadership team who wants both improvement in retention and growth, but they can't tell you which one is more important?
Interesting. So I think help them think through what's most important. It often has to do with stage of the company. So at the earlier stage, often it's new logos that's most important, new customers, because it may be a land grab. You're just trying to get as many customers as possible. You might be willing to accept a higher churn rate just to be able to penetrate the market. At the other end of the spectrum, where you have a mature product, there's not much left to get in terms of new customers. So this is where retention becomes extremely important, unless you're going to access a new geography or something like that. But you know, a mature product that is got pretty much all the customers they're going to get, it's a retention game now. And so
Mm.
yes, usually we want both. But when push comes to shove, there's usually a reason for choosing one or over the other
Is
strategically.
there anything else that you feel you wanted to touch on that's related to the inner critic, the inner leader?
I would encourage folks to do exactly what you did today, which is when you hear that inner critic, challenge it and parse out what's true and what's not. And when you hear that inner leader, hold on to that. Remember how that feels. Remember the posture and strengthen your ability to come back there, because this is where you want to be acting from most of the time.
Amazing. Rosalie, where can people find you in the best way?
Well, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And then my website is
Okay,
launchbright.com.
excellent. And you also have a Substack where you have some really great bite-sized articles there. As I was going through them, they're like, 1 minute, 2 minute reads, some of them, but just little nuggets of wisdom along the way. I love
Mm.
that short format that you have. Both, there was also a really beautiful longer format article that you recently published. And so both of them are really great, and your thought leadership is fantastic.